Sounds good. So we're part of our mission with the MDC, the Media Data Collaborative, is that we're trying to kind of create this rising tide, and so that's the culture behind why we're even having this gathering of people coming together that we've selected in media to talk about data and revenue and the potential for those things going forward. And so that the culture word for us is rising tide, which is we believe if we bring amazing people together, and then we work to benefit each other within the group, that the benefits that are happening in the group will also spill out and benefit media, and we're already seeing that happen within the group in terms of people doing business together and people answering each other's questions and people making progress based on the expertise that they're encountering within the group. And so one extension of that ethos is actually spending time with people that I'm noticing are doing something unique or special or different that I think can benefit other people in media. And so today I will be interviewing Will Hill. And then Will, if you don't mind, I'd love you to just do a quick introduction of yourself and your company, and really like let's look at it. What do you see as your passion and your mission, both personally and within the group?
Yeah, definitely. Name's Will Hill. I'm the CEO of Kairos Communications, which is a media company that I founded in 2019. And its express purpose at the time was to take ownership of the digital only news business that I was working for at the time, and then purchased, which is kind of a longer story in and of itself that we can get to later. But the name Kairos is kind of it's a Greek word that means like a moment of action, or a moment of grace, or something fortuitous, like a confluence, and I named the company that for a number of reasons, but the biggest one was that I had no intention of owning a company or running a news business. I really had no intention of being in news. I don't have a background in journalism. My background is in business and nonprofit management and stuff like that, sales and marketing, healthcare. But I took over this company, purchased the company, and because I'd found a passion in community storytelling, small community storytelling. It really was kind of drilled into me since my very first job when I was 14 in Indiana. My first manager at a restaurant, she would always say, it doesn't matter if you're cleaning toilets or if you're making the steak, but it is excuse me, it is important to put the customer first, because that's what their good experience is what leads to revenue, which leads to a raise for you, which means more money for your family. Of course, they didn't have a family at 14, but you know what I mean? Like it all comes together, it all connects. And so that's been kind of something that has played a part in my professional career, my personal life. I'm also married. I've got 7 kids and an 8th on the way, and so big family, and connection, and those moments of where everything comes together. That's something that you have to have every day with a large family, but professionally, it's that's what I'm all about. The mission of our company, which has grown since 2019. We now own 3 local radio stations and a marketing agency, and a co-working space that we also work out of. And it's been all about connection. That's our company's kind of catchphrase, and our mission, quite frankly, is to connect the community. Our logo has community connected in it, and that's kind of what I'm all about.
Yeah. And that's I think that's so much of what I've noticed about you, in the conversations that we've had, and then how I see you interacting within the MDC. That idea of community and connection, I think, really resonates with me. Like, that's a big part. Our at the top of our pyramid within the company that I run, Data Joe, is a partnership. So that's our culture where that extends down through the entire organization. That's how we decide what to do, right? Is it good partnership? Is it not good partnership? And I think community and partnership, I mean, they really run hand in hand, right? Like they're the same thing, right? We want to connect with people. We want to delight people. I love that your first boss, if I were to just extrapolate what I hear from that first lesson that you got, I think it was add value, right? Like add value, like just go and add value without expectation and it will come back to you. Is that an accurate synopsis of that lesson?
Absolutely. She did such a great job connecting it to. I mean, she had all the catchphrases of a restaurant. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean, and all of that. But she made sure that, especially the kind of new employees, like me, it was my first job, that kind of thing. She made sure that we understood that what you do in this restaurant, it's not just about your take home paycheck, that kind of thing. It's not just about making food. It's about there are people out there that if they have a great experience, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to come back, which means we continue, you get raises. It impacts everything. That value and that service to customer, it impacts everything, and that's what makes the world go round.
Yeah. And that's the kind of business that is fun to do, right? Like I like to do business that way. I like to feel like I've added value to people, right? And I hear that in you with the way you're helping your advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely. Transactional relationships with my advertisers are not very enjoyable. They're usually not particularly profitable. And I'd much rather have that deeper connection and deeper value.
Yeah. All right, very cool. So we're gonna jump into where I want to get to. We're gonna talk a bit about the agency. Like we're gonna focus a little bit on the agency aspect of your business. You said you acquired an agency. You said 3 radio stations, a co-working space, which you and I haven't talked about the co-working space. I'd love to talk to you about that. But you're a media organization, right? That acquired a co-working space. You acquired 3 radio stations, and now you acquired a marketing agency. And you shared with me that part of your business has really taken off in some ways and is showing many signs of life. And so we're gonna kind of travel down the road to talking about that more in depth, but we're going to start more with origins. And so if you don't mind, how did the decision to acquire a marketing agency proceed out of this kind of culture of community and connection that you created within your company? How was that a reflection of your core values to do that?
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, County 10, which is the name of the Wyoming, we're all known by our counties, and we're the 10th county. We've got a 10 on our license plate, and so in 2011, when County 10 was formed, the founder wanted to name it something that really brought the whole community together. Our local community here is a county that is the actual name's Fremont County, and it's the size of Rhode Island and only has 40,000 people in it. There's a reservation in the middle of it that has 2 different tribes that are different culturally, and then there's a mountain town that relies on more on tourism, and then there's the town that I live in called Riverton, which is oil field services driven, kind of a boom bust town kind of thing. Just totally different cultures, and there's a population center at the northern tip that is kind of, everybody calls the redheaded stepchild. They call themselves that. Like they don't really care about what's going down in the southlands of the county. They just want to do their own thing. So lots of different cultural elements. And then like 120 to 200 miles in every direction with nothing but antelope. And so we kind of have to do our own thing. And the agency, it kind of, the way you described it makes it sound like I'm personally wealthy and I'm buying up all these. We're acquiring, but it really all came very organically. The way the agency, excuse me, got this frog in my throat. The way the agency came about was the same way the co-working space came about. We found ourselves in 2019 when I bought County 10. We found ourselves with a huge empty, excuse me, repurposed warehouse space that was built for a company called Brunton back in the early 2000s, and we had no idea what to do with it. We're like, we got to move, but it kind of was our identity, and so we started a co-working space
Yeah.
and brought other companies in because it was a need, and we also saw that. If we invested in kind of that entrepreneurship culture in our local community, that those are our future advertisers. Those are our
Yeah.
future clients, you know, and
Yeah.
a the first member of our co-working space was a husband and wife that owned a little SEO marketing agency called Atmosphere Marketing, and they kind of wandered in. They had they were a couple years out of college and have been doing their own thing in a different part of the state, and they moved back to this area to be closer to family, and they moved in, and over the course of a year, we worked so well together. And I was referring our clients to them and saying, hey, you
Yeah.
know, we can do advertising for you, but you really need a new website. And that was the thing
Yeah.
that really got it for me. If I'm going to advertise digitally, but they have a terrible website, or you can't find them online, or you know whatever it is, if they have a terrible digital presence, which
Yeah.
most small
Yeah.
businesses do, honestly, uh, I couldn't guarantee ROI for them, and so we
Yes.
started sending clients to this husband wife marketing agency, and eventually it really made sense for us. We were working so closely together. We were going to them asking for, hey, can you give us like a list of topics that people are searching, the top 100 topics that people in our community are searching at any given time in the year. And we started looking at it going, okay, we need to craft our editorial strategy to start answering these questions before the questions that came up all the time. We need to
Right.
answer these questions before people ask them, and so made the decision to acquire them, and we merged our companies. And he just recently exited the company after that whole acquisition finished, and so that's how that came about. It really was to, hey, these businesses, they need more, and for our
Yes.
advertising to be effective, we need to be able to offer these other things, and they trusted us. We had a great relationship with these businesses, and so when we began offering website design and search engine optimization, local SEO, organic SEO, it was a huge positive. It was a big win for everybody, and we were able to add more value.
Yeah. Right. I was going to just tie it right back to that, right? Because the lesson you learned, you know, back in the don't lean and you better clean days was wherever you are, add value, right?
Yeah,
Like that. And so
yeah,
I love that. That like I see that as the heart of your enterprise is you're in this community, and you described, I think, pretty clearly what the challenges are in that community. All these disparate cultures,
yep,
and you connect them. You connect these disparate cultures, right? Through media.
yep.
Um, but in that process, you're looking, and I just want to highlight this because I do think sometimes the purity of what you're saying can get lost, right? Like if
Oh
if
yeah,
if it becomes about making money, then you know it robs the heart and the soul out of your organization, right? Like if you
yeah,
add value, then you'll make money. And so
yeah,
the question to be solved, right? The problem to be solved is how do I add value? And so I love how that this is all just so consistent with what you said right now. So you're referring to these people. They're in this co-working space that you created, right? To solve a problem. To solve
right.
a problem. Client number one of the co-working space now is um, you're referring all this work to them, and so you're finding in experience their value,
Yeah,
right? And so that was the test kitchen, so to speak, right? You got to test out, um, and then you found out, man, we can really expand our offerings for businesses that need it through this partnership with this third party partner and actually bringing them in house. So that makes total sense to me. Why that would work and why it's an extension of adding value and why it's an extension of benefiting the community, which is what you're trying to do. So can you tell me a little bit about how that silo, I don't even want to call it a silo because that's not the right term. but how that division of the business stacks up with the other divisions of the business, like in terms of like where your actual revenue and engagement is coming from. I'm not asking for hard numbers, but I would just like anecdotally for those that are
Yeah.
considering, do I want to enter into this agency model and leverage these awesome, deep, trust-filled relationships that I have with, providers in my community to extend my offering to people through an agency model.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how
Yeah.
it's working. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I took over County 10, we really had one revenue line item, and that was O&O, local advertising, owned and operated
Yeah.
advertising. And we did a lot of sponsored content. That was kind of our bread and butter. And we had just started doing some display advertising, that kind of thing. But local advertising on County 10's website, that was our only line item. After I took over, we started seeing the need to diversify because advertising is not always going to be around in the way that it is today, or definitely not the way it was 10 years ago. And so we added event services. We started planning some events we started with that. A major advertiser needed more awareness about their grilling product. Nobody knew that they offered grills and grilling accessories and things. And so we created an event and kind of a contest and all these different things around it. From that, we started doing more contests and kind of sponsorships and really big plays, more things that were more like the radio industry. It's really funny because then we ended up buying radio stations. But we started doing these contests and so we also have some programmatic and passive revenue. We have the co-working. We now have radio advertising, sports production, and live streaming is a completely separate thing that came with radio. So we have all of these different line items, but agency services, we break that down into a bucket. It's our largest single revenue line item. All of the other stuff is local advertising and stuff that people do. You could put it in one bucket. I break them out because I kind of want to know. So the agency is now over a third of our total. Well, it's about a third of our total revenue, and well, it's a little anyway. It's about a third of our total revenue, and as a single bucket.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And that's happened within the course of what did you say, 4 or 5 years, something like that?
4 years, but the 50% of that growth has come in the last 18 months.
Wow. All right. Can you explain why you think that accelerated like that in the last 18 months?
Yeah, the original owner, he stayed with us as part of the acquisition agreement. He announced his decision to move on to other things. He's still a part owner in the company, but move on to other things when the acquisition agreement was up. And so we started planning, and he was SEO and websites, and I just left him alone. Like, just run your ship, man. And when I knew that he was leaving, we dug in and we found a third party fulfillment partner, a white label partner to work with, because I was getting requests for things that we could never do as a local agency. Things like reputation management, actually requesting and answering reviews, and more local SEO where we're syncing listings with software and integrating software into people's days, providing kind of light CRM and email campaigns and digital advertising. We didn't actually do any targeted digital advertising as an agency. We did all local O&O. And so, but we were starting to get people going, well, what is this, what is it? MTV, CTV, what is it? OTT? Yes. OTT, OTTC, and we didn't offer it. And so in the last 18 months, we have added all of those services, and most of it we run through a third-party fulfillment partner called Vendasta, which is has been the single best move that we have made since I bought the company, I think. So that has led to our growth. We're able to offer pretty much everything that a local business is asking for, and pairing all of those services together has led to a far more sticky offering,
Yeah.
a faster offering, faster turnaround
Yeah.
times, all the things that make for better value add, which is our mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, that's so huge. And it gets so concrete, right? Because you like what I love and what I appreciate is we're in the clouds kind of talking about conceptually agency model, and we're talking about your culture and your passion and your mission. And then we're funneling it down through experience, right? And these acquisitions and the stories just becoming clearer and clearer. And now we get down to this last 18 months, something happened that was special, right?
Yeah.
And so everything, you know, the conditions were set up for this thing to happen on 18 months ago. And it was, you started working with a company called Vendasta. I don't know, Vendasta, I don't know. I'm just going to say it wrong. But you started working with a company called Vendasta. I don't even know them. I don't know them. All I know of them is really what you've told me. But whenever I run across somebody who's attributing that much of a win to a technology partner, I think it's important to pause and just acknowledge that, right? Because so many vendor related, and you probably know this, you work with a dozen different vendors or 100 different vendors. Yeah. And every once in a while you work with somebody that rises to the top and exceeds expectations. And when that happens, I want to put my finger on that, because, you know, the goal again of MDC and my personal goal is to help people. And that's one of our principles. Underneath the rising tide, one of our principles is being concrete and getting concrete. And so this is about as concrete as it gets, right? Like they came in 18 months later, best 18 months we've had on this side of the business. And you attribute it to them basically drastically enhancing your capabilities as a third party.
Yeah. And not just in offerings, but in management of the back end of the offerings. They provide a business app that's client side, and so clients can see all of their products, all of their services, and all of their reporting on in one place, which is absolutely huge. We could not provide that before. You know, it was like we're working with Vendasta to incorporate radio order systems and getting, you know, radio affidavits of what played, what didn't play, and into Vendasta's reporting system. I said I'm at the Broad Street doubleheader is what they're calling it. It's a pre-conference event ahead of the Lion Publishers Conference, and I'm actually talking about some of this today in a lightning talk, and we're pulling, you know, Kenny from Broad Street is pulling in, working with Vendasta to get Broad Street's analytics into the Vendasta platform, and so everything. So I can now give this business app to every local advertiser, and they'll see their local advertising stats in it. But then I can very easily use the platform to feed them, hey, what about SEO? What about a new website? What about more advertising? And it's all right in the same place. And so that's just one piece, the management and the time that it's saving us to provide the services. It's a better product. It ties into our local advertising. And that's really what it's all about. It's not, for us anyway, you know, I really saw, and this is kind of the core of what, when you asked me to do this interview, was kind of in my mind, like, I really believe that, you know, that my small media company, which is a drop in the bucket in terms of Town Square or Gannett or Lee Enterprises or any of the big, you know, local news companies out there, they're all pairing all of these things together, and they're able to provide all of these things. And in Town Square's case, they've been providing it seamlessly for years. But all of that money leaves the local community, and in an isolated, remember I said like 120 miles, you know, got a perfect little thing. That money can't leave the community. It can't. And so we're able to keep so much more local marketing dollars in our community by saying, hey, we can offer the same thing that Town Square can, because Town Square sells in our market, even though they don't have a property here, they sell here. And and they're great. I know people in their organization, and
Yeah.
they're a great organization. But how can we compete with these things? And Vendasta allows us to be able to compete that way because we're the experts. I walk in and I
Yeah.
go, "Hey, overhead door of Riverton, but your website is absolutely impossible to navigate. I don't
Yeah.
know what we're doing, and you're trying to send people there from your radio advertising with us, from your County 10 advertising. We need to help you with this." And that's actually a story I'm telling today at this Broad Street conference.
Yeah.
This overhead door Riverton company, we did goose eggs with them, and he was frustrated, and he's like, nothing makes any sense to me. Nothing works. I might as well not even advertise. And today we bill $3,129 a month to him, and he will probably end up going up from there. Because
Amazing.
we built him a new website, and we manage his website. We're doing targeted digital advertising for him. We're doing SEO for him. We're doing local O&O advertising for him. We're doing like all of it. It all connects. It's all served through one app, and we're the local expert able to help him understand. Okay, this is what it means in the community that you're doing this tactic or that your website works.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what you're saying is so new. Because so what I let me tell you what I'm picking out from it. There's so many questions I have, but I'm going to pick out a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to go back and say Lion, local independent online news conference. That's where you're at. So I don't know, probably 500 people are a part of that organization, something like that, right? 500 news organizations. These tend to be small to mid-sized, hyper local, no print,
Well, they
online
can, but
only.
digital is their primary.
Digitals are primary. Okay, so that's where you're speaking today. You mentioned Kenny, so shout out to Kenny Katzgrau, who is the owner of Broad Street and the publisher of Red Bank Green. Huge advocate for the media space, and even it almost feels like he could just. It's great that you're going to be doing very similar. You're going to be talking about similar things because like Kenny could be in the room with us, and he would be in
Yeah.
complete agreement with what we're talking about here, and where he
Yep.
sees the industry going. And so I want to point those things out first for those who are listening and don't know what we're talking about. And then I see you reaching an understanding of the shifting role of the media salesperson, right? To some degree, because the media salesperson is now the trusted advocate, right? Of the small business in your market, the trusted advocate who knows what the small business owner doesn't know about how to get the word out and what the best channel is to get the word out to bring them success. Mm-hmm. Right. And now you've solved the fulfillment problem through the third party, Vendasta, right? Because you don't have to worry about fulfillment. But Vendasta is also not in the room saying, oh, you're, small business owner, overhead door, you should be doing these 5 things. They're not saying that. You're the one saying that, right? Mm-hmm. You're the one saying these are the 5 things that you should be doing in our market because I understand our market and I understand the technologies that are available and I understand your business.
Yep.
Bam. Now, and that's different. Wouldn't you say that's different than the traditional conception of what a media sales person is doing or thinking?
Oh, absolutely. I see it with one of our local competitors here. They have an army of salespeople running around, but they turn over very quickly. Their pay is it's not great because they're not experts. They've got 10 to 15, 20 accounts each, and their job is to show up and say, hey, this is our promotion this month. Would you like to buy advertising? And I think everybody sees the need to know more about your products, but the idea of being an expert and being able to really be a consultant, I mean, it's semantics, but we call our salespeople marketing consultants. And it's true. They need to be able to walk in and they need to be able to identify. I'll give you an example. We a few years ago, we had a business that wanted to do. They had a really successful an electronics business, and they had a really successful kind of Christmas toy show, video games and things like that. And they would do it in a venue, and they would bring all these people in and people would come and buy their Christmas gifts and video games and different things. And they wanted to have a summer one. And in Lander, Wyoming, which is rock climbing outdoor mecca, and they wanted to have this thing in their parking lot. And I said, I don't think that's where people are on a Saturday in Lander or anywhere in our community. They're not coming to an electronics show on a Saturday in July. And
Yeah.
no, it's so successful at Christmas. We're going to do it again in the summer, and we're going to call it Christmas in July and blah, blah, blah. And like, okay. But I don't know what to do for you, because if we advertise this, I don't know that your event's going to be successful. I know we can give you eyeballs. I know we can give you interest, but no, you don't, we're just take the money. And we didn't have a mechanism to say no at the time, because
Yeah.
this conception that I have today was not the conception then. And so we took the money, and then we got blamed because nobody came to their event. It's
Yeah.
County 10's advertising.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, no, we're not doing this anymore.
This will never happen again.
No, this will never happen again. And so, I started really driving home to our whole team, sales or not, you have to be able to say no, and you have to be able to walk away when a small business has a bad idea as far as marketing, and you have to be able to coach them on why that's a bad idea and what the better idea is. And so, when we have somebody that orders advertising at a local level and they have a terrible website, the first thing that my salespeople do is pass that over to me, and I have a deeper conversation with them in tandem about the website and what it means for your advertising, what it means for your business, what keeps you up at night, what are you thinking about, how can we help you solve that? And it just leads to, a little product here, a little product there, a little product there. And suddenly we're doing $1,000 a month in business with them. And half of it, they don't even think about as advertising or marketing dollars. It's more like capital expense for them. And so, that's how we're growing. That's how we conceive of sales and management of accounts too.
Yeah. Oh man. It's so beautiful. And again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple in a sense, right? Because what I'm saying is you've drawn your organization in around a principle. And the principle is do what's best for the partner, right? Do what's best for the advertiser. Even if it means, we turn business away, we're not going to just let people pay us to do something that we know is not going to work. I'm going to give a shout out to Amy Scott at 417 Magazine. Actually, she's the vice president of sales over there, Amy Scott. And she told me, I had a similar conversation with her that was private, it wasn't like a people of media, because it was before I started doing this. But that was one thing I remembered, is she was like, we will not do anything that's not good for the client. Yeah. And even if the client wants it, I don't care. We're not going to do it if it doesn't work. We do what works. We do what's best for the client. Period. End of story. And that's, what percentage of media organizations with as tight and as disrupted as things have gotten, are able to do that. That's hard. That's hard. That's saying no to money. That's
scary. It is scary to say, these are things we're not going to do anymore. And to look at it from that direction, it's really a leap of faith. But I have to say, if you make it, that's what is driving revenue and growth for us, because we're seen as a leader. When we lose clients, it's because we dropped the ball on service. It's not because the product didn't work. And when we do, and we have a local, call it a shop local campaign, and it's not working, and we're going to shut it down because it's just not. We thought it would be just huge, and it's not, and so it needs to go away. It's not the right thing.
Yeah. That's so a couple additional questions here, and this one's going to meander a little bit. So, it seems to me like you have had a good track record in selecting partners, right? So from acquiring the agency to working with Vendasta to I know you work with Kenny, and I know what kind of person Kenny is and what kind of shop he runs, right? Like he's culturally in sync with the culture that you've described to me and with the culture of my organization.
Very much so.
So how have you how do you make these decisions about who to partner with? That what is it about the way that you approach these decisions that has led to, in your opinion, the success um, in picking vendors and partners?
Yeah. Um, it's definitely uh, those interactions where the service is there up front. Um, and I mean, I've been in sales nearly my entire professional career after
Yeah,
college, and you can feel when it's not genuine. You can feel when it's, and that's my if I feel sold to, and like the company's not looking for a partner, that's my first turn off, and I just say no.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the next thing for me is when they tell me that they are the only solution that can or the only company that can provide me the solution I'm looking for, because that's not true. There's 10,000 of you. You know, I mean, this is I can get on you know, AppSumo, and I can find the solution that I'm looking for with five little things that'll cost me $10. And so that's not true. And when they tell me that, you know,
yeah,
and so I'm looking for honesty is really what it
yeah,
is. And
yes,
when I feel that in the initial interaction,
yeah,
then we start to go down the road. And there's all the technical pieces. You know, does it solve a problem for us? Do we think that we can make it work in terms of margins and all the business concerns? But it really is, do I feel like this company is on the same wavelength? Are they trying to
yeah,
do what we're trying to do in their lane? And
yeah,
um, and that has been uh, by far my experience with Vendasta. We worked with a partner before that um, they had a great solution for some of the problems that we had, but it didn't serve the client in a holistic
yeah,
perspective, from a holistic perspective, and we couldn't move forward with them. And so you know, that's why I like Vendasta. We work with a handful of others. A company called Advisor. We do all of our proposal generation through. They do a lot more than that, but that's what we use them for. And they're constantly just, you know, pinging me, how's everything going? Do you need anything? What, you know, what is it? And that's obviously an account management strategy. It's
yeah,
a, you know, reduced churn strategy, but it's
yeah,
so genuine, and they'll
yeah,
clear their schedule and make an appointment if I've got an issue. We work with
yeah,
Waymark to generate video. And those guys at Waymark are from day one. I met them at the Burrell Miami conference 2 years ago. And just from day one, you know, they were like, we want to make great video easy for you so that you can sell this product to clients because it's great and they can't generate this kind of video, and it's hard for you. And
yeah.
like, yeah, this answers a question. So companies like that, those are examples of businesses that we're working with that have that same mentality.
Man, that's huge. And thank you for dropping those names, right? Because if there are excellent providers out there, you wouldn't happen. I had a guy ask me today, is there anybody out there, any organization out there that's doing AI generated legal contracts? Um, you know, is that accessible at this point? Have you run into anything like that?
I I mean, I think I've seen a few things, but I have generated some AI contracts, agreements, you know, advertiser agreements, and then because that's definitely not my area, I pass them off to our real lawyer, and he looks
Yeah.
at it and goes, "Did you generate with this with AI?" And he looks at it, and he's like, come on, man. And he goes through and no, this doesn't, it doesn't account for this, and it doesn't account for this, and we need to
Yeah.
protect your
Yeah.
business like this, and we need to, and
Yeah.
so I have not run into a
Okay.
company.
Okay.
My lawyer is very wealthy from all of the things that we've been doing, and he's like, he has become a friend, and
Yeah.
I've not even dabbled in that world of AI
Right.
legal.
You don't need to. You don't need to. You have a relationship, and you'd rather have that
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
right. Than
Yeah,
reduce the cost, which is just
it's
consistent
a
with how you.
super expensive relationship. It's like that buddy that you invite to the lake that never brings beer. And it's like, oh, you're gonna drink my beer again? Okay, all right, but I, you know, but our lawyer's good company, I guess. So
Yeah, right, exactly. You love him, and he does what he's supposed to do for you. So, I mean, what more can you? asked for. So if I trace the threads down, right, to everything that we've talked about, um, there's a lot of tactical stuff, and I do want to get concrete and tactical for people, and I think we have gotten concrete and tactical, right? So like, hey, if you want to explore this agency model, you probably need to reach out and know a company called Vendasta, right? Like that would be one concrete, tangible step that somebody could take, is reach out to them. And then there are a couple other providers that you described here, and you know, that there's tactical things, but really the core of this is culture. You know, like your success has a lot to do with your culture that you've created.
Yeah.
And the trust. And you use that word even in what you look for in a vendor or a partner is, are they honest?
Yes.
Do they tell the truth? Are they trying to sell me, or are they trying to help me genuinely? And that's gate one, right? If there's 7 gates, the first gate is, are you honest? And that makes sense, because that's what you've sought to be as an organization, is honest and trustworthy. And all these opportunities that you're describing came from that approach, right? They all did.
Yeah.
Being a trustworthy partner with a desire to do good for the people around you first and add value first. And so I just draw the direct line back down to, you know, your conversation in the restaurant with the lady that trained you and showed you an incredible business lesson that you clung onto for life, right? Which I think is the right lesson.
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. That's it. All comes full circle. You know, I would like to think that I'm a person of integrity, and that if you bring that into business, especially at the local level, and with small businesses, and I see so many publishers that are struggling just to produce the news, that are struggling just to, and in pursuit of that, in order to do the core of what they're trying to do, they'll just throw up a banner ad and you know, hope that it works for their customer. And if they were able to take just a little more time and find that thing that really works for them, and provide them honesty, like, hey, I need your money because I need to run my business, rather than I need your money because I want this to work for you. Like, that would work too, you know, that honesty. And they're like, I need an underwriter, as opposed to an advertiser. But it's hard, I think, in small publishing. You know, we like to talk about things like, well, we have a lot of readers and we can provide you with lots of visibility and brand awareness and all of those things, which don't always drive business for the you know, the corner burger shop that everybody already knows. You know? So anyway, it's all about the honesty and integrity and partnerships.
So then what would you say to so let's say I've got a publisher listening to this, and what you're saying is resonating with them, right? Like, let's say what you're saying is resonating, and they might be thinking to themselves, you know, yes, I have gotten a little bit transactional, right? Like, yes, I have put my need to keep the lights on before, you know, I've made some decisions that maybe I wouldn't have made if I wasn't so financially pressed and stressed. Right. And so I've already gone down that road, you know, maybe I've already gambled away a little bit of if I'm dead level honest, right? Maybe I've compromised my trust in the community a little bit with the different ways to fill the hole that I've pursued. And I don't know how to get back to that place of purity, of pure intention, that place of generosity, that place of selflessness. Because, you know, I'm afraid if I start giving too much, I'm not going to be able to keep the lights on. What do you say to that person? I'm maybe putting you on the spot a little bit, but I think you're a man of substance, and I think you can speak to that. So I'd love to hear what you'd say to that person.
I have been there. We were there, and the thing that kind of pulled us out of that was looking for, in the particular case, the display advertising that we were serving had that transactional nature, and it wasn't working for people, and we couldn't provide good reporting in order to, you know, make adjustments and optimize it. And so we took the time to go looking for a partner that knew more than us. And that's what led us to Broad Street several years ago.
Yeah.
The first thing that it did, we took the time, we implemented it, and it took time and energy, but that was time and energy that we knew was going to pay off. It was going to
Yeah.
pay dividends and pay for itself. And so we bit the bullet and spent a little bit of money that we weren't spending, which is the other thing. You know, sometimes you have to spend a little bit of money even when the money's not there in order to get to the next hump. But once we found a good partner that knew more than we did about what we were trying to do, that is what sealed the deal. But it's taking the time to actually find that partner, and knowing that I couldn't just Google digital advertising or set up Google Ad Manager and that was enough. I needed a partner that could help us. You know, and sometimes you outgrow those partnerships. I don't know if we're going to outgrow Broad Street, but sometimes you outgrow those partnerships. But that's what got us through, and that's what I would recommend to anybody that has that's having that experience. It just feeling like this is overwhelming. I can't seem to connect the dots, and I don't even know how to. Instead of trying to do it yourself, go look for a partner. And that is someone you can trust, that you can, I mean, I've emailed Kenny about the most ridiculous, you know, like, hey, I want Broad Street to do this. And he's like, let's get on a call because it doesn't do that. And here are some things that we do. And here, you know, for our company, we use this, and just, you know, a conversation and to have a partner like that has been fantastic.
Yeah. Man, I love how you answered that question. I asked you a really hard question, which is, you know, if I'm stuck, how do I get out? And your answer was partnership and collaboration, like partnering with the right person, the right people, the right organization, with the right character, the right integrity. And so therefore the time that you spent wasn't so, and I think I can probably extrapolate that, and we're running out of time, so we're going to wind up here, but I would even extrapolate that to say, to some degree, you got to get your own house in order, right? You got to get your house in order, and part of getting your house in order is getting the wrong people out and the right people in, right? And so, you know, to some extent there is, I'm sure you've had your share of internal hard decisions that you've had to make to be consistent with the vision as you now have articulated it. But then but even that, right? Like even like I have a consultant who I meet with every week, and I don't know where I'd be without him, right? Because he sees the things that I can't see. He's that person for me. He covers my blind spots. He's the person I ask crazy questions to. And you know, shout out to Nate Ulrich, amazing operations consultant. And he's many times told me I had to make hard decisions that I didn't want to make, and some of those have been personnel decisions, right? Like that's hard. But also, there's this external, right? There's this whole external. If I hadn't found Nate, if I hadn't done the work, right? And to be honest, I got very fortunate with Nate. I got lucky. I got blessed with Nate at a time when I didn't necessarily, I was hungry and I was looking, but I wasn't necessarily looking for him. And Jacob, anyway, I won't derail us with that story. But I did write this down. Partnership is the catalyst. Partnership is the catalyst. It's who, not what. Like if you're struggling and you're stuck, you need to find the right who. To accelerate you, the whole.
And that could be an employee. I mean, internally, Catalyst was for even buying, you know, taking the leap and buying County 10 was that we were down to only 3 employees actually focusing on it, and the one who was doing the books and working with clients. I sat down with her and had a really honest conversation, and she's like, I will do this with you. And you know, she's been right there the whole time. She handles the books and the financial things and the things that I don't understand, and we have honest conversations very frequently where she says, no, you may not try that new idea because as cool as you think that it is, it will bleed us dry. You may not do that this year.
Yeah.
And you know, you need somebody like that. But externally, it's been, you know, the companies that I described and others, and you know, people in personal life. And it's always, at least for me, it's never a, I hear people, they're like, well, I read this book and it changed my life. And that's true. Like books
Yeah.
can do that, you know, but
Yeah.
for me, it's always that, it's always the person that I'm able to say, this is, I'm able to get honest and vulnerable with, you know, and be
Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah.
what I'm struggling with. I don't know how to do this thing. And their ideas are what brings me out of it.
Yeah, man, it's so good, man. And to be honest, like that's where you and I, like I happen to believe that at my core. That's a core principle for me, right? Partnership, my company's core principle, but it's also my core principle, right? Like I think partnership is the ultimate catalyst, right? Like the ultimate accelerator. And knowing the right people is why I even created the Media Data Collaborative, because I feel like I know too many of the right people to
Yeah.
to keep them all to myself, right? Like I just know too many. And so thank you so much, Will, for your generosity. Just you know, I've got 3 pages of notes, and I didn't have to take notes, but I just love what I see here and what I learned from you. So I appreciate you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you, Johnny. This has been a good conversation.
All right, very cool. Well, I'm going to take off and let you get to your conference.
All right. Take care.
All right, have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.